I'm that girl who has done QHHT and BQH sessions as a client. And it doesn't matter what practitioner I'm using, I'm always connecting into my SC, my Mr. Subconscious, right? Doesn't matter whom I use, I'm always connecting into my subconscious. That's literally how these sessions work. You get so relaxed that you start channeling your master guide, whatever labels we want to call them, right? And what do we call them? Many people call them the oversoul guides, our angelics. There's a whole lot of different names for it. And, you know, when you're calling your subconscious Bobby, and I'm calling my Mr. Subconscious something else, that guy in the phone call center, we could be talking about the same person or the same being. And I guess this is the problem when we love our labels, right? Not quite accurate. And so, you know, people call me a whole bunch of different names according to my relationship with them, and vice versa. And it gets kind of confusing when we're trying to figure out, you know, the information of the universe, and we don't realize we're calling the same thing by different names. And, you know, what is a rose if it was not named? What is that term? Oh God, I can't even remember. Anyway, these sessions are profoundly, ridiculously amazing, regardless of how you're doing them, right? My subconscious is within me, and he's always connected in with me, just like your subconscious is always connected in with you, always. And so to sort of scare people into not doing sessions, I guess, you know, there's a big agenda there, right? Why would people not be wanting you to have sessions? Let's think about that. Is it because they want you to just trust them and them to give you the information, and you not think for yourself and you not experience these sessions yourselves? Or what's going on there? If people are aware of the shift to the new earth, they know that you can't take any money with you. So where is their motives now when they're trying to just get people to just blindly follow and pay them money? Doesn't involve many people. It certainly doesn't involve themselves. So there's that. We all know that we should have shifted a long time ago. And it still seems from the teams when we're connecting in with them, people are not realizing their responsibilities here now. And so many people haven't really sort of thought about doing their inner work. It's not really for them, is it? It's everyone else has inner work. And it seems like I talk to a lot of people who haven't scratched the surface of loving themselves still, and haven't really honestly looked at their behaviors and the way that they react to things. And, you know, when you're listening to these sessions, for example, and you're just talking to me, you're just hearing me talk about inner work and how to love yourself and all this sort of stuff. It's like they think that's enough. I'm doing my inner work. I'm just listening to this chick on Facebook or YouTube. And the reality is we all have to be responsible for doing our own inner work and actually doing it, not just listening about it. And it's kind of like me thinking that I run a marathon if I just watched lots of people practice and rehearse. I mean, I don't think I could either watch people train in a marathon, let alone participate in one. So, you know, I'm being real with my skill sets and my capabilities. But some people are assuming because they're watching others practice and train and get ready for events, they too will be fine. And it's not quite like that. We all have to be training ourselves to prepare ourselves not to freak out when the bigger things happen. And this is super significant why we are given lots of opportunities to practice this. And it seems like a few people, once they actually have to apply the information, they're out. Not interested in it. And it seems really easy when they see other people doing it, but when they try for the very first time, it's really hard. And they don't know the purposes and the lessons for what's going on in their lives. This is just something super different and hard. And this is happening against them and definitely not for them. And so it seems like our teams are giving us lots of training exercises to prepare ourselves for when we are physically, emotionally, and mentally in the old earth, or on the old earth, or however you want to say that. So it's very interesting, and I see a lot of people really stressing and having real big challenges now because they've never gone through them before. They've never actually faced their fears and gone through the challenges and empowered themselves to get to a true sense of inner peace. And that's what we've all been trying to get to. And so they sort of realize that they know it all theoretically, but practically they haven't started trying to be in that situation. And that is cool. That's a choice, but we can see that those people are super struggling. And so when you have gone along on a training, when you have been watching all these people practicing for the marathon, and you're just sitting there sidelines, not participating, and you're just exploring all of the training that they've done. And then when the marathon actually starts and you're realizing, oh, shoot, I've got to do something here. Okay, I'll just ask those people who have been doing this training this entire time. And it's kind of like you already missed the gate for that because they're already on their journey. They're already in the marathon. They're actually doing what they've been training to do. And they're not actually going to be able to be there for you because they're participating. They've already jumped ahead, run ahead. And so you're at that sort of starting line, and you may notice there's a whole lot of other people at that starting line too. And some of them didn't realize they were even going to be participating in this. They, opted out for that marathon, and, fair enough too. But if you can understand what I'm trying to say is your teams are really trying to get you to be the leaders in this running race for when you find yourself on the start line. And so it's very interesting. It's very, very interesting. I've been having a lot of downloads, which means a lot of different types of sources have been coming in to expand their consciousnesses into my consciousness field. It's very interesting because you can feel the sort of the different types of collective of consciousnesses, and these ones feel, for a lack of better terms, very old. And I know we're all the same age. We're all part of the biggest collection of source, but these different branches of source have had their own sort of complete experiences. If you imagine everything being the tree trunk of an oak tree or a tree, and then that tree trunk branches out. And so every time there is a big branch, you could say that's a branch of source. And then that branch has its own sort of breakaway branches. And you could say that's kind of the higher selves. And then those breakaway branches have like little twigs. And we could say that's our subconsciouses. And then, we could be merely the leaves. Look how much we've evolved from being toenails to leaves. So anyway, those other branches of source seems like they've already kind of completed their journeys as such, and they already have got fully awareness. No, that's not the right word. So they know who they are. They know a lot of information about all of the consciousnesses of all of their branches and their leaves. And some of those leaves, some of our essences are on Earth. And so there is many types of different sources who are coming here to be able to help assist. And this is very important. They've got many names. We have known them as many different types of names. And so they're here to help because they can. And this seems to be significant for many reasons, and it's very, very purposeful. And so the information that they have from their consciousnesses of all their groups of souls is going to be appropriately important to know on the new Earth. if you've ever sort of wondered, how is it that you remember everything as soon as you get into the fifth dimension? You don't suddenly just remember everything at all. There is, you acclimatize. So you get to the new earth and you acclimatize being there physically, and you may be there with your current family, and you may sort of settle in and kind of just get your bearings. And then at some point you'll want to be curious more about the other experiences you've had on earth, because you're going to be more open to understanding who you truly are, more so than ever before. And so this is when you start getting your recollections back. But as you can imagine, it's quite sort of shocking for the majority of people to understand what they've just gone through. And so when you start getting more of your other lifetimes back, you don't just get, 100 of them just to try and process. The way that they want to do it is lifetime by lifetime, or a smaller group of things. So, you again are like, oh God, this is going to trigger people. You again like babies, and you're just being spoon-fed little bits of information that you can process and expand upon. And so all of those lifetimes are going to be physically given to you in strands of memory, and that is important. And there's going to be lots of different people, beings that you can go to and get more information from that way. Could you imagine how overwhelming it would be if you just suddenly remembered 100 of your other different lifetimes? And while we all think that we want the veil to be removed, it's a lot to process. Plus, if I had my veil removed right now, right, let's just pretend that I've had heaps of other lifetimes here, I'm still going to see, Bobby and Jane, the neighbors. I'm not going to realize who they are still, because, I've had remembrance of who I am, but I won't be able to see all the other versions of their lifetimes. I only would figure out who they are this lifetime, because that's all you would see. So you have to actually gain access to the other lifetimes. And we say it's sort of like, I've talked about how all of the history of Earth is in kind of like these big USB sticks, for example, in libraries all around the universes, right? And so, it's just all the information data. And so our life soul essences are like that too. And so do we need to, we have to transfer this information, and it doesn't just kind of come from the air. You actually have to be transferred this information from other lifetimes, and it is important to be able to gain full access to who you are, but it just doesn't sort of seem to be what they wanting us to experience all in just one big download. It is too much. And there's something to be said about unpacking consciously in a fifth dimension all of the different parts of self. You've already had your life review with each individual life contract, with each individual life that you've experienced when you've gone and done the life review. So you are aware of them, but to be able to suddenly have all of the information put back onto you seems like a lot to do to someone. So this is how they're wanting it to go. And I've heard about this quite a few times in different sessions. So I don't know if I'm explaining it myself very well, but this is how we gain access to more who we are. And I think it's for us, it's, I guess, maybe different because, I'm talking to a different audience, not just, the general Joe public. But for the general Joe public, you can definitely understand how they would need softer versions of this while they're consciously processing themselves. And so it's very interesting. It's very interesting what needs to unfold at some point when we shift to the new earth. Now, I don't get a sense of how long that could take for everyone to kind of get back their different, all their different lifetimes. Potentially, who knows? We can't measure time on the new earth. So it depends on individual people, how much they can process this and implement it and understand it more. And maybe there are some people that aren't interested in other lifetimes, who knows? So it's all about remembering who you are. And because the soul now is on a more advanced evolution journey, they're in the fifth dimension and they're wanting to really know all of their physical lifetimes to be able to expand upon what's next for them. And it's very interesting because, we know that we haven't died when we shift to the new earth. It's merely evolving physically. And with that physical evolving comes the conscious expansion as well. So, there's a lot going on. So you can imagine for someone who is not aware of reincarnation, this is a big deal. And we know that they need to be supported and not given too much information, because we know that too much information is kind of effective like poison, right? We can really shake them and confuse them and daze them. And, we're wanting them to be so supported that they want to learn, they want to grow, and they want to understand what's happening to them and everyone around them. And so this is why it's been very interesting when people explore the new earth with what they think is their sleepy husband, for example. And the sleepy husband is so advanced and open and evolved on the new earth that they outgrow, they advance really fast, quicker than their own wives. And this is really sort of takes a lot of maturity for the wife to kind of accept that, because they've been such sleepyheads here on earth and been such a challenge for the wives, for example, to get them on board with all of this. And then as soon as they're on the new earth, they just they blossom and flourish. And that's fantastic. So, of course, we mustn't dismiss the challenges that wife had with that sleepy husband, because that was all designed to be able to empower herself. And that is super significant. And it seems like a lot of people forget why we have so many challenges to empower ourselves. It's really that simple. So for anyone that's complaining or feeling like, well, I can't advance, I can only do this because of this challenge, blah, 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 blah. You're not embracing the challenge. You're not realizing this is all part to empower yourselves. And so those are lessons. If you don't allow that lesson to teach you how to have self-empowerment, you haven't learned that lesson. And so you're still seeing it as a hurdle versus a leap forward. So I've spent some time looking through some of Dolores Cannon's old books, Convoluted 2 and 3. And of course, the 3 Ways of Volunteers and the New Earth. And it's all very interesting, and it always, of course, confirms what we do here in sessions. So unfortunately, as Dolores was worried about, is that if humanity didn't get its shit together back then, things would not go according to plan. And we know that didn't happen. We know that they didn't shift into a 5th dimension back then, and we're still here in the 3rd dimension. And we know that the life contract of the planet has taken a toll on its soul and changed. It didn't seem to factor in that they did have that sort of concerning possibility, but that just was too drastic to come to terms with that. So as we know, this humans are, the humanoid bodies with a consciousness is, the grand experiment. And, a lot of effort has been put into the bodies, and a lot of effort has been put into the consciousness and the experiences of the soul essences as a collective for the human collective. And so, it's never they're never just going to turn their backs on us, obviously, as we're experiencing this. So, there was not that much other options left. When you burn through a planet and poison it so dramatically, with density, energetically and physically, you have some big problems. And of course, because we kept using our free will to be interesting with our manufacturing and industry, and the certain industries we were getting ourselves involved with, we burnt through the lifespan of this planet pretty fast. And that's a shame, but luckily, we've got other options, because that could have been quite challenging. So there's a lot to be said, isn't there? There's a lot to be said. And unfortunately, for lots of people who don't really read Dolores Cannon's books and follow certain people who talk about Dolores Cannon all the time, you could be quite confused about the actual truth of what's happening versus what someone's trying to suggest to you. So it's always good to be able to have your own sessions and talk to your own subconscious and find out its name. Actually, the way that they refer to each other and what they call each other often actually can't be translated into English. We can't even make that certain sounds, frequencies, because it's not even possible with the tongues that we have, with the senses that we have. So there's that. So whatever you feel comfortable referring to your subconscious is, that's great. Make it personal for you. Remember, they are, an extension of you. We're all one. So, become good friends with them. Trust that they know what's happening for you. And I know that so many people are focusing on things that kind of are a bit, not silly, but there are so many people that are still trying to tell you how to manifest your soulmate, because the universe doesn't know what the heck it's doing and doesn't know it's in your life contract to be able to get a soulmate together. So it's like forgotten about you. No. Those kind of people that are trying to manipulate you into how to find your soulmate. Okay, well, that's cute and all, but your subconscious knows, and your soulmate subconscious knows what the heck you're supposed to be doing in this lifetime, right? And so often people will try and say to you that your soulmate's going to be this just perfect Prince Charming, and it's just going to be love, and that's all there's ever going to be, and you're just going to feel so super marinated in a real high frequency of love, and that is it, and that's all you need to focus on, is someone that can give you that. And that's all cute in Disney, but in the reality is, be careful when you're trying to seek support for yourself and empowerment of self by employing others to try and find your, soulmate, because chances are you may not even have a soulmate this lifetime, depending on your life contracts. So, it's super important to know thyself and know this contract this lifetime, and know that love, and even tough love, is still love. And, we're supposed to learn from each other constantly. And if we're refusing to learn, if we're refusing to notice that these are lessons for us, we will get harder and harder tests from them and lessons from them. And this is going to really confuse a lot of people. This is why there's a lot of divorces, because people think, oh no, that wasn't love. Oh no, he never loved me. He was being that sleepyhead. And it was almost as if I was supposed to empower myself independently from it. And I wanted to be a Siamese twin. And so you can see how people get really confused about what people are teaching us. And when we're just looking for this, source love relationship, well, we can't really quite get that here. We're here to learn. We're here to grow and expand. And, those idyllic, perfect relationships can only really exist when we fully love ourselves, and can only really exist when we've got true inner empowerment and peace, and, and do a lot of inner work ourselves. So, a lot of people who have sort of had a relationship that sort of didn't work out and they were single for a while, this is usually when they have the most personal growth, because they realize they have to depend and rely on themselves for everything, rather than assuming a partner is going to fulfill them, meet all their needs, and do everything for them, including, sandwiches. So, this is again taking our responsibility of doing our own inner work and not relying on anyone to do things for us. We're very capable of doing everything for ourselves. And the quicker you get to understand that point, the faster you will evolve. Because a lot of people are, I'm so hurt. I had a hard childhood. I didn't get, that Princess Barbie. I'm fucked off with the universe, and I'm going to hold my breath until I get what I want. And now we're adults and we're still behaving like brats, and we're still behaving like entitled people that should have all of the gifts of the universe given to us. Ironically, we do. We just don't know what to do with them. And we actually have to know how to use them. And so it's kind of like we've got all these gifts in abundance all around us, but we don't know what to do with them. There doesn't seem to be a manual to how to empower ourselves. So, there is going to be no tools outside of ourselves that are supposed to help us empower ourselves. They're merely crutches, and we are needing to get quite quickly evolved enough to have balance and neutral, and not dip into deep fear, deep despair, and go with chaos in our minds. While everything else around us may seem very chaotic, we don't want that to be happening to our mindsets, because we need to be sort of what the teams are sort of saying, leaders to be still high vibrational. Now, when everyone else is sort of losing their heads around us, we need to be still stable and balanced. And that's what they will need from us. And that's what we need to be able to do. So are we ready for the challenge? Being here just in that balance and peace and harmony is what a lot of people signed up to be here. That, when there is big things coming, and big things are happening all around us, we just haven't necessarily noticed or want to notice and see. This is proof, this is proof, this is proof, this is proof, this is proof. So a lot of people are still kind of wanting to just dismiss all of that until the big events occur. And, that's a choice. You do you, whatever is the best for you. But at some point, we're going to have to be so super empowered when everyone else wants to be super disempowered with fear. And, this is important. And while we could be distracting ourselves with so much other nonsense right now, potentially that distraction of other nonsense is still preparing us for that marathon. So, I know sometimes I feel like it's inconsistent, the information that they say to us, because it's sort of like, be high vibrational, but drop your low vibrations to expand upon this, to experience this, to get back up again, or purposeful, always. So, we are in training constantly to figure out how to pick ourselves back up from that density to be in neutral again still. So, do not beat yourselves up or feel like you're failing if you found yourself back in density, because often that is so purposeful to be able to help people around you and to be able to really feel back into that density again, to work your way through and out of it again and again and again and again. because, you know, this is, while we've got these extra bonus times, this is literally what they would like us to practice. And boy, oh boy, oh boy, if you have not experienced the magic and the power of that 15-minute meditation, please do yourself the treat and do that, because I am getting so much different experiences and perspectives from doing that every single time. And, you know, it's a powerhouse, that's for sure. And, you know, I'm not saying that because, you know, it's one of my videos. I don't have ownership of any of those videos. I'm just the vehicle that is sharing this information to everyone. And, you know, that day that I did that, I had no intention of channeling a healing video that was going to be so profound. That's, you know, I go and do what I am prompted to do. And I was outside, and I'd already felt like I had done sort of my jobs for the day, and I was just going to be, you know, Joe the farm girl. And it was very interesting. And there was so much energy before that came in, that it really overwhelmed me. I was crying because I could feel Bob Marley coming in, and he was calling all his brothers and sisters. He was in this, it was very painful for him, because he wants everyone to feel love, and profound love. And, you know, his love for humanity is still intensive, super, super intensive. And so, you know, that we are so supported, and you know that there are so many people that are still here being of service to humanity, even though they're not in the physical forms that we know them as. You know, there's just so much support on the other sides, more so than even people on this earth. And they are all working hard to get epiphanies, to support, to guide, to give the gifts, to be able to give the tools, the inspiration, the empowerment. You know, they're doing so much, giving us so much, and all we need to do is start applying. And all we need to start doing is noticing and trusting, and realizing that self-empowerment is really the key to everything here. So it's very, very, very significant what's happening. And I want to thank everyone that's been doing that 15-minute white light healing. And I want to thank everyone that's been doing their inner work and stepping up and empowering themselves. That's all we can do. That's all they can ask from us, is to do that in all sincerity and earnesty, because, you know, this is going to make a huge difference. And I don't think we were really prepared for it beforehand. And, you know, would have been way too overwhelming, and we wouldn't have been able to keep the frequency as it needed to be for the old earth experience. And the more we look into what the significance of the old earth experience is, the more it is profoundly significant. So anyway, I'm sure there's nothing new that was shared today. And I still encourage everyone to go back and listen to sessions, even the That Girl conversations, because while we think that we have all heard this information, many of us are still, you know, not actively listening, we're passively listening. And we're trying to listen to what we think is applicable to us. Everything's applicable to us. So highly recommend you use your free will wisely. And if you haven't had your own quantum sessions before, you know, these are significant. You know that this is probably the most profound thing you can do for yourselves. And you know that your subconscious is waiting for your call. So enjoy your days. Also significantly, water. I don't know how much you're noticing that you're drinking water. I know that we need to still drink lots more. And if you are having an old earth experience, chances are you'll need lots more, because the water is a gift to keep our frequency high. and we do not want to plummet. You do not want to be on the old earth and be dehydrated. That will not assist you. You need the water. It's a big, strong fuel for your bodies and for your high frequency vibrations. It is truly key. And if you haven't noticed this now, maybe just check in to see how much water you are drinking. I don't know about you, but when I'm stressed, well, the old Joe used to not eat when I'm stressed. And then 2020, I discovered I flipped and I ate everything under the sun while I was stressed. So figure out, how do you respond in stress today, this current you? Because I can't eat right now as I am not stressed, but I'm still getting all these downloads from all these other different types of sources. And so I am not able to eat anything as I am trying to just keep expanding on the consciousness of what's happening around me. Is significant. So figure out how much water you are drinking. I'm noticing it's very, very sweet, the water right now, very sweet. And if we are too busy with our food routines, we may not notice that. So just notice what is happening around you. Notice your own routines and habits, emotional and physical. Okay. Love you guys.